It's the SDG Podcast. Before we get started, you can check us out on the web at solutiondesign.com/podcast or find us on all the social medias, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Solution Design.
Gentlemen, welcome back. Say hello and tell us who you are.
Hey, I'm Chad Jetner.
I'm Peter Lawrence.
And I'm Kyle Bacher. And today we're going to glimpse into the future. We're going to make some predictions about what's going to happen in the next year or so in technology and whatever. Chad, I'm sorry your Twins didn't win. I know you made a prediction last year that they go all the way, but you impressed me yesterday when you weren't bummed out. You were really happy with how well they did this year. True fan. I was impressed.
Yeah, for somebody that predicted undefeated, it didn't quite come true, but it was better than expected, right? Or as good as expected?
Undefeated in the wild card round, I think is what I said, and that did come
That's
true.
what you meant? Okay. Yeah, I'm sure that's what you meant.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll remember it that way. I'm fine with that. This year, some things happened. Like AI became real to the general public.
News media, yep.
Yeah, that seemed to happen. Like the emergence of certain things shaped our world a little bit. And one of my predictions is that that's just not going to work out. And they're going to shut it off. And we're going to go back to just using people. No, I think it's like more people figuring out how to benefit from it, and more people figuring out they should bring some of those people back they laid off because they thought they were going to benefit so much from it. So that's one of my predictions.
So here's the thing. So Wall Street Journal did a thing, and GitHub loses money on Copilot, and Copilot is the GitHub, the AI assisted code generation.
Yeah.
They lose $20 per user per month, and users pay for the service, right? So they're losing even ridiculous amount to run this. So I think the current models and the current way that we're implementing AI isn't sustainable. It's not realistic to expect the cost to just naturally go down because of fairy dust, right? Like, cloud or blah, 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 right? Costs will just decrease. No, I think they're not going to, if anything, they're going to go up. So I think you'll see a little bit of folks laying off, at least like large things like GitHub, right? Like you can't lose that much money maybe you can. I don't know.
Depending on how you slice it.
Yeah, I suppose.
I mean, I guess the way I would look at it is they're spending $20 a month to gain the expertise and the information of people using their Copilot, right? There's going to be feedback. There's going to be people not using it, not caring for it, or happy with it. With that information, they're going to make better decisions down the road, right?
You think they're losing money just to gain market share initially?
I think they're they're spending money to gain market share.
The first one's always free. They're hooking people. They're making it affordable for people to get out there, play around with it. They're making it affordable for companies to look at as an option, and they want to get everybody on the hook. And then the price and maybe they'll be able to justify it, and maybe people will be able to justify a bigger spend. I know that the AI stuff that is coming within SharePoint syntax, which is going to be amazing. I think that starts, there's a trial, and then it's like $40 a person or something. But looking at what the time savings of organizing content and identifying content, all that nonsense, it's going to be worth it. Like totally worth it. Even if it was $100 or $200 a month, if you go in, use it, get your act together, and then once it's all running, there's something. I think is it Copilot within Office 365 now, or Microsoft 365, that ties into sales. So it's a sales tool. It ties into either their Dynamics platform, or it ties into Salesforce. We're going to actually goof around with that. But I think it's, right now it's getting people in, and you want to get in the developers, and you want to make this thing available to as many people as possible so that they see the benefit and kind of get hooked on it, start relying on it, and then the pricing will go up if they can survive till then.
Which I think they probably will. Yeah, we were just going to let you just hang there for 5 minutes and see if you could handle the silence, but
no, I was about to say, okay, Chad, you talk a lot now.
I don't know. I mean, the resources needed for power some of these models, right? To create the model from scratch and to start with, right? To create a base, it's ridiculously expensive. and then to keep it tuned. Everything else alongside of that, I think what you might see is a lot of experimentation, but not a lot of folks that are going to do just what Copilot did and just like be happy to lose. I mean, $20 a user doesn't sound like a lot, but they've got, I mean, I don't know how many users they've got a pretty solid user base. That's a lot of money to lose.
Yeah, 2 million, 10 million, whatever you want to call with the user base with it, right? You know, once, like everything, right? Scale is hard and scale is expensive. You know, this is another scaling problem.
And until we get more GPUs, so like it's not only the energy costs associated with this. We talked about this last week or the week before with, it's just, I mean, there's an ecological impact to running all of this stuff, a non-zero impact. And at some point, I think one of the other things that you might see happen is a little more consciousness of that. Like, hey, this is really cool. It costs as much to run this model as it costs to power Vegas for a day. So
Right.
is this an appropriate use of these resources?
No,
I certainly hope that becomes a thing, because, you know, it's it's one of them hidden costs that doesn't really get a lot of attention. And probably should.
So
I mean,
there's
just
another
the hidden
shoe.
costs of Vegas.
There's another shoe waiting to drop.
Yes.
Is this like the Bitcoin blockchain that now is taking up, I don't know how much of our energy?
I mean,
We
it's
talked
the same
about that.
problem, right? It's the
Yeah.
same problem. And to their credit, the folks at Hugging Face actually have like an executive level position studying environmental impacts of running large language models and ways to mitigate that, right? And I think that a lot of that comes down to like analyzing your use case. Maybe you don't need, you know, the entire, I forget what the maximum, the trillion parameter Llama 2 model that's available to you. Like, I think as
Right.
IT nerds, we tend to just say, hey, I need the biggest thing possible for blah,
Right. Right.
And I think that might actually become more and more aware. There's going to be more and more awareness around some of this stuff, and well-meaning people will act appropriately.
So, you know, I make videos and like to do fun stuff like that. And I've been looking at some of these image generator type AI tools and played around with DALL-E a little bit. Not real thrilled with how it operates. And so it's like not my tool of choice, but I'm looking at a lot of them, and some of them, it's either you can pay to run it on a server on the internet, or you can, like, it's in Git. You can go and run it on a local.
Right. Pull it down and run it locally.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, you know, because it's been so long since I actually bought a system for myself, I picked up one with a GPU that's got, you know, 12 gig of memory. It's very fast, and it's a fast laptop. I got it for gaming mostly, but I'm looking forward to trying that stuff out. Do you think that that's gonna, because of that footprint and that processing energy use, do you see companies bringing AI on-prem?
I don't know about companies.
Colonies of ants, elves.
I think people, small individual groups will probably bring it on-prem. I think companies, I think the cloud still makes more financial sense to keep it out there and run it, so you don't have to have an IT organization as large, or you already have the IT organization maintaining a cloud space. Why spin up a server or a handful of servers just to run this one thing?
Have you seen, though, I reference him a lot. It's DHH, the guy that, one of the founders of 37 Signals. He actually did have a huge blog post talking about retreating from the cloud and going on-prem again. Benefits that they've seen with that approach. Now, I don't think that makes sense for, I mean, their use case is relatively narrow, right? Like, they're running, you know, they've built a couple of applications and they're a software as a service provider. And I don't know that necessarily makes sense for everybody, but I would be curious to see if that actually does become a thing where more folks say, goodness gracious, like, our AWS bill is, you know, $500,000 a month.
Right.
What were our server costs 10 years ago?
Right.
Was it really $500,000, or was it, you know, this, but more headaches? And I don't necessarily want to say that that's the prediction, but it is something that I think would be kind of interesting to see. Like, is it really going to be cyclical where everybody kind of threw everything out in the cloud and then dealt with all of the, you know, not necessarily paying. I mean, I love working with AWS resources, but there is, you know, there are valid reasons to not be out there.
I think that, you know, we're like making ourselves hostage to these platforms by how much we commit. But I'll tell you this, anybody listening out there, any platform people, Peter's done migrations. I've done migrations. It's not impossible to change your mind and go back on-prem. So watch the pricing.
No.
Don't overcharge us if we notice. Like, I'm not threatening anybody. I'm just saying that, like, don't think that you've got everybody trapped.
I will say this, that maybe that'll be a prediction. People will start to make decisions on if a 100% cloud-based IT infrastructure is the way to go for that.
Right.
That it won't be, right?
Yeah, it's, it's what do you have? Like, what do you have to protect? What are you doing? Like, what systems are you running? What kind of people do you have? If you got a great team that keeps the lights on, like, is there a big push? All your stuff's working. I like to change when I'm forced to, and there's a gun to my head. So, it would be like there's this huge benefit going to the cloud. There's this huge draw. Like, we should all go there. That's, as soon as you get to that point, you're going to move to the cloud, but then what's going to drive you back? And is it, because Microsoft bought Blizzard and Activision, if you're going to communicate in Diablo, you have to do it through Teams, and people don't like it. I don't know. I kind of
Is that your prediction, Kyle, that Teams will start being the communication platform of all Blizzard games?
I like Teams. I'm sorry.
Didn't they just buy Activision?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Blizzard.
And
Blizzard Activision.
So
Yeah.
Diablo and a ton of other games that.
So am I
they
not going to
own.
have Call of Duty on the PlayStation anymore?
Oh, that's a good question.
I think they were still talking about having it available, but
Microsoft is more willing to play nice with others than, say,
What
Apple.
year is this?
I'm telling you, like, all these apps, all this stuff that they put out, their model is that they develop for the iPhone first because it's the biggest platform, and then they do Android. And then they used to do Windows Phone,
How
and then
weird
they
is it
stopped.
to hear that, though? Like, Microsoft wants. I think traditionally that has never been the case, right?
No,
until
it
they
hasn't.
got lapped with like mobile devices and everything else. Now all of a sudden they want to play really nice. And then I'm sure Apple's the same way. Hey, like, we've got a closed ecosystem. We're not going to open it up, and then something's going to come along. Probably not next year. Probably not for 5 years. But I would imagine that another platform is going to emerge because Android is not great.
Nope.
I used to love it, but that whole world is it's not great.
Certainly
well,
noisy. It's like it updates all the time, and there's the Samsung apps plus Android. Like, I get crap popping up it's really annoying. Have to deal with all that. What's more annoying for me is having to use an iPhone. Jill can attest to that. I had to help her with something on her phone, and I was just like, I don't know how this works. Like, where's the buttons? I can't. Yeah, she had to help me. So the future,
Do you guys think you'll have a new phone next year or the year after that?
Will
I think
buy a new one?
5G is, for many of us, 5G will be inevitable.
Yes, I'll probably get. I mean, I have whatever this one is, the 14. I got this last
Yeah.
year, and
Okay.
it fell off a bar that same week, so it's got to be cracking it. So I will probably get a new phone, potentially a titanium one this time. But that'll be nice. I always struggle when we talk about like speeds, right? Like 5G and LTE, whatever, right? Like,
Right.
yeah, they're going to get faster and faster. I think Comcast just announced that they were able to shove terabytes up old copper, decades old copper still. So like you'll be able to have, I think it legit said like 2 terabytes via copper. So I don't know. I mean, it's not much of a prediction to say like that stuff is always going to be faster and faster and faster, but it's true. I think we just talked to, what was our buddy Kyle that we just talked to, a dude working remotely, constantly working from his van.
Justin Jordan.
Justin Jordan. Thank you. I mean, pretty soon he'll be, like, right now he uses Starlink. I think pretty soon he'll be able to use his regular cell phone as a hotspot. Nothing else. So
His trifecta of connectivity is Starlink, his phone hotspot, and then Verizon Home. Every time I've had a meeting with him online, like, it's been fine. There's been little like hiccups, but there was a hiccup with our call today, and we're all in like gigabit,
Yep.
I assume.
here's a prediction. I think this coming year, we've all heard for the last, 3 years, how COVID has changed, blah, 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 right? It's changed how we work. It's changed this. It's changed that. And I think all of that, I think that band probably stretched as long as it's going to now, and it's going to come back to, all right, start getting back into the office a few times a week, right? Maybe not all, we're not going to ask you to be there Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. I think the momentum around being in person is going to pick up a lot.
Yeah, I try to be in the office every day now.
Yeah,
This morning
and I
I
think-
didn't feel good, so I stayed home, which is great to have that option. It gets me out of the house. I get good separation between work and home life. So work-life balance is better. I live alone, so it's an opportunity for me to be around people. And we have a lot of people that come in throughout the week, and it's great to see them. It's great to talk to them. Finally, having opportunities to talk to Chad in person.
Yeah.
It's different, and there's more of a feeling of camaraderie and that togetherness, connectedness. So I think if you're work from home 100%, then I believe you're missing out. At least hybrid, a couple days.
I think also
yeah.
the companies that have modified the way they interact with employees based on COVID, they're going to have to start going back, right? Because people are transient, right? Like we're not necessarily tied to anything anymore because, oh shoot, COVID's around in the market and blah, blah, blah. I think that the companies that don't adapt to doing whatever secret sauce made them special pre-COVID, that drew all the people that stuck with them through COVID and beyond COVID, they're going to start seeing the same kind of tension that, that other folks see now. Like, hey, it's great. We were able to do all of this stuff, and it worked for going on when did we call COVID done? 2 years ago? 3 years ago? I forget.
Two maybe.
2-ish? Yeah. We've
2022.
Yeah. Was it 2022?
Yeah, because
It really
kind
was
of
before things
started
got done.
early, mid, beginning of second quarter was when it blew up of 2020, and then it was like a year and a half of more serious stuff, and then it waned as people, I guess, were getting better. It was going away. It wasn't so bad.
So you guys think that we'll revert back to sort of a hybrid in the future?
Well, we're calling it hybrid right now, but we're actually not doing hybrid enough to really almost call it hybrid.
I mean, because the team that I work with right now, I've got people in Houston, in California, in where else? Michigan, I think.
Yeah.
And there's some East Coasters in there too. Being in the office will just be doing this, but in a different location.
Yeah,
me,
it doesn't make sense. I mean,
which
when I
didn't
did
make sense to me. So
I've done projects with people in Amsterdam, with people in California, way back before COVID was a thing, and worked from home or did hybrid.
So I think there's going to be a hybrid of hybrids, maybe, depending on the team makeup and things like that. If your team is all in one location, heck yeah. Let's be in the office a couple of days a week, because those whiteboard sessions, those talking to people, having that rapid fire conversation back and forth, discussing architecture and ideas, it's hard to do that same type of thing remotely. And it's hard to do that same type of thing when people you can't bring them into the office if they live in different states, right? We don't have that teleporter commute yet. I don't think.
And what I think is and this is kind of what's happening, is it's an individualized plan. What is your hybrid plan? Like, what can you do? Well, I live 3 states away in the middle of a farm field. I'm not going to come into the office all the time.
Right.
I might drive up once a year for the big shindig.
That's one of my things, though. There's got to be a big shindig. People want to feel connected again.
Yeah.
And I think, it started this year, right? Like, I'm back in the office at least a couple days a week, if not 3 days a week. I think more and more that's going to bleed into the people, even the kind of the hermits, right? Like,
yeah.
You're going to see people that just want to be around. And I think companies are going to be successful companies are going to realize that and facilitate something. But yeah, I think, and not, it might not even be people focused. I think it's going to be driven also by the companies themselves. I think it's obvious that a lot of the companies prefer the real estate they're paying for is actually being utilized. Obviously. But I've noticed, like, certain types of companies have this mentality of, if I see a person in a seat, productivity is happening. And
I can waste time just as easily at work as I can at home.
Yes, we can get around the office internet filter just as easily as...
Yeah, well, you're welcome for that. But for me, it's what do I have on my plate and suffer all the drive-bys? Do I have time for that? What I found is I can just close my door and people will respect the closed door because I'll get messages like, hey, I was in the office, but your door was closed. And
Oh, dude, I'm sorry. I just walked right in the other week, didn't I?
yeah, but Chad, I expect that out of you. I don't hold you to the same standard.
Oh, so do you think we're going to have offices in this hybrid model then in the future?
We'll probably have shared hotel space and then breakout rooms and privacy rooms.
Yeah,
because you got to take a call sometimes. And
it's funny. I do wonder if the open office is going to go back to the office. So we're going to get back to that point for at least some of the time.
Well, I
I
think
mean, like
it's
a
just
point
changing.
Where you actually have a desk. You can put pictures.
Yeah.
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 I've been working to make my office a really comfortable place to hang out in, a place that I want to be. Well, I can't really do that to a shared hotel cube situation. So it's going to be maybe like a rotating, it's like you 4 people get to share this thing and it's just lazy Susan and you push the button, the Chad button, and it turns and then it's got the grain belt and the twins and the comics and stuff like that, pictures of his kids. And so he gets that personalization, or maybe every office has one of those screens that rotates pictures and you just bring your USB drive in. And that's how you personalize
virtual wallpaper for your desk space. Maybe
I might be onto something. I might have just given somebody $100 idea. So
there you go. Let's talk about the future. Not talk about offices. What else is going to happen in the future?
Have we made any bold predictions yet? Hey, AI and also people coming back to the office aren't necessarily bold predictions. I think
those are not bold. Those are pretty vanilla.
Yeah. Are we going to get to Mars?
No.
I mean, we're
this year.
already kind of on Mars with the helicopter and the.
Are we going to try?
No,
not this year. Maybe in 5 years.
Oh, you think that's 5?
I think it's 20.
Or it could be the proverbial 5 for self-driving cars, right? Self-driving cars are always 5 years away.
Yeah.
Self-driving cars aren't going to be.
I think that the Southwest Light Rail will go unfinished next year. It's supposed to be done in 2018. So
it's close.
Yeah. But no, the self-driving cars is going to happen. There's a huge fear factor, and the idea of like pushing a button and calling a car to come get you and take you somewhere, and you just hop in and go. Yeah. Like I don't drive a heck of a lot. So having my pickup sit in my driveway, taking this cheap robotaxi that costs, a $20 a month subscription.
What a self-driving
whatever.
office.
That could be a thing. Like a big tour bus comes by and gets you.
I think those will be things in better designed cities and probably warmer climates.
Well, they're already talking about these 15-minute cities, and there's a conspiracy behind it that we're going to get penned into our 15-minute city and can't leave. But I think the idea is to create space
he's reading different news sources.
It's to create space where people don't have to get on the highway to go to the pub. I mean, it's like creating little villages.
Is that a this year problem though, or that's?
I don't think that's going to happen in 2024.
So, I mean, that's a problem that they've solved. Like European cities have solved that 500 years ago. Have you seen the design of some of the cities?
No. I think European cities have the population density to not have to solve that problem.
Right.
I mean, it's a zoning issue, right?
Yeah.
I love being in Northeast Minneapolis because that problem doesn't really. I mean, I don't have to get in my car to go to the bar if I live in Northeast Minneapolis. I don't have to do all these things. But no, we've blown ourselves out and to the suburbs, and I'm one of them. I'm 25 minutes away from and so I don't know that so the way this ties into like self-driving cars and everything else, right? Like I don't think that our city planning, the way we do it today, even in Hennepin County, is necessarily conducive to like making it easy to put in infrastructure that allows self-driving cars to operate efficiently, right? Like
roundabouts I think really big to help these self-driving cars. UPS changed all their routes so that they never had to turn left, because turning left caused more accidents and problems and took more time. So I think the ability for traffic to flow, and that's what roundabouts do, is they give more flow. So I think that I see that as being important, taking off the hard edges, making it easier for these cars to navigate their space.
So when do we have self-driving cars?
Now.
Or do we just get rid of the need for it, Chad, based on your getting back to a walkable city?
I would love getting back to walkable cities and having a town center be a thing again, right? Like, I mean, I live in Champlain, and our town center is essentially
there is no downtown Champlain, right?
There's no downtown Champlain at all. There's the commercial area on either side of 169.
Yep.
And then there's just a sea of homes. And it's fine. I mean, it's fine. I don't hate this, but as I get older, I would love to move to a more densely populated area.
I think they do that with like retirement communities. They build these walkable, larkable, you can take your scooter around and it's got all the amenities. Or the cruise ships now that are going to be retirement communities. Hop on one of those. Yeah, I'd sooner live in the desert.
Yeah, I didn't want to go to retirement community. Isn't really.
No, but the concept of it and building it, like I can see somebody deliberately creating a village out in the middle of nowhere that's got a huge internet pipe running to it. And it's like a remote worker haven. And you can walk down to the pub and you can walk to the grocery store, to the market.
There are those things right now. Over in Asia, there are places that they've capable villages, more back to basics, but then also have giant internet so that people can work remotely. Which
I just want to walk down the block and get groceries. I mean, I can walk to Park Tavern. I can walk to Holiday Gas Station. If I had to, I could walk to Cub. It'd be healthier for me to get out of the house and walk more.
It's a mile or two, right?
Yeah, it's not nothing.
Right.
It's not the 15 feet to my truck.
So to be fair, I mean, downtown Minneapolis is essentially kind of what we're talking about right now, right?
Right.
You can live downtown in Minnesota and walk to the grocery store, walk to Target, walk to everything. You can get everything that you need without having to actually go outside even in downtown Minneapolis.
Do they have grocery stores?
They've got a Whole Foods and a Lund's. Yeah.
Okay.
Both on Hennepin Avenue, if I'm remembering right.
Yeah, I don't think it's reachable by the Skyway, though.
I don't think the Whole Foods is. You're probably right up with the Lund's.
But that's okay. I mean, it's close enough where you are. It's walkable.
I mean, it's, like the Skyway system and working downtown. It's pretty cool. It was when I worked down there. You just have to have your parking figured out, your transportation to get down there. But once you're down there, you can walk everywhere. And then you learn the rat's maze of a Skyway system, which is a challenge. And to find out where the really good food court is and then how to get back there. But I think it's like, okay, so maybe a lot of that corporate space that isn't being used turns into living space and grocery stores open in the Skyway, and it becomes a big habit trail for all of the hamsters that live down there. Do you not remember Habit Trail?
I do.
No, I do.
I do. We're just letting that one hang out there.
I worked downtown for probably like 8 years. And you're right, it was great. It was really great, especially when Block E was a thing. You could go to the movie. You could see a first run movie at an AMC theater downtown Minneapolis. It was, and I keep going back and forth between wanting to move way up north and live on a lake, or doing the opposite and living right downtown in Minneapolis.
Yeah,
that's
where I'm at. One of those loft condos.
You just need a grocery store on the lake.
I want a place that the elevator opens up right into my house. Just have a special button I push.
Predictions.
I don't think that's happening next year. What else?
No.
What else we got? Do we have any bold predictions for next year?
It's an election year.
Java goes away,
so it'll be kind of nutty.
Windows
Java goes away. Yeah. .NET. All your technologies get replaced with robots. No, that's not going to happen.
No, and I looked at .NET 8, and it's it's coming out this year at the end of the year, and it's it's the long-term support version, so it'll be around for 3 years. It's got some cool features.
I think it's like a rebuilding year. I think it's like we're going to learn how to incorporate these tools, these new things, and partner with them. Partner with your AI.
Oh, that's an interesting question. Chad, do you think you'll be building AI into your application that you're working on right now?
No.
Not yet?
I think you'll find occasional, kind of think of a real world scenario. I just remember like when mobile became a thing and when iPads became a thing, like
Yeah.
People would try to find ridiculous use cases
Right.
all the time
Yeah.
for this brand new thing.
Yeah.
People used to use location services way more judiciously than they do now, right? Like,
Yeah.
obviously you want to find people that are around you, and we're gonna by default broadcast your location to everybody else that's using this app, and we're not gonna think of the consequences of that kind of thing. That was a thing that happened. I saw multiple times with mobile, right, when that became a thing, and
Yeah.
developers were like, oh, dude, I can see exactly where this person is, and I can, use that information however I want to. And the
Right.
however I want to was horrible. And I think that same thing is going to apply to AI. Hey, there's this new thing, and I can use it however I want to.
Right.
So I think we'll probably see something like criminal cases involving AI, right? Like
Ooh.
AI impersonating real people.
That's happening today. Yeah.
Yeah, like AI impersonating real people, and maybe we're going to prosecute the first identity theft that an AI itself performed, and then we'll be able to talk about all the
Ooh.
legal ramifications that we talked about, I don't know, a month ago, 2 months ago, right?
Yep.
Like, if your AI did something, if you used a model from this company and that helped it do something, where do you point the finger at who's at fault? I mean,
Right,
you are
right.
obviously as the developer and the trainer of the AI and deployer, whatever. But that could be a lot of fun to watch.
Okay.
I think
so-
there's a lot that's going to happen. I mean, they're tacking AI onto everything right now, and maybe that's the same as tacking on location services. But your tools are going to have an AI component, or at least maybe an option for it. Hey, give me this function that does date math because date math sucks. Things like that. Are you trying to do this? So
Oh,
your
you think Clippy will come back
IntelliJ
next year?
Clippy?
Clippy will come back next year?
Yeah, but it won't be. It won't look like Clippy. You won't
Einstein?
have that warm feeling whenever you see him. No, I think that like security will continue to be a big thing. Of course, and then what are the ramifications of videos that look real that aren't? Like we no longer can trust what we see on our screens.
Or what we read?
And what
Or
does
we
that do?
hear?
What does it
I don't
do
know.
when you can't trust anything? Is there going to be a special like validation mark thing, a widget that you put behind you so that it captures it and reports back that yes, this happened? I don't know. We're going to have to figure it out. Yeah, I think the AI experimentation will continue. I think this coming year will be a big AI experiment for more business users, more people in the trenches.
I mean, that's another point. Like to Chad's point about mobile, is the business was trying desperately to find a mobile hook, right?
Yeah.
How do we hook into this new mobile experience? So now we're probably going to have that same searching for the AI hook, banking and
Yeah.
manufacturing. And I mean, what's the AI hook in manufacturing? No idea. But I'm sure there will be a company trying to hook that way.
I can
Cars.
tell you a little bit. I mean, AI in manufacturing is already kind of happening today, detecting imperfections on a product line. You
Yeah,
can train
That's true.
image recognition models for that kind of thing really, really well. That's a wonderful use case for some of these models. I think that's one of the biggest ones, right? Like really just quality control in plants, in warehouses.
Repetitive, detailed
Yeah.
functions work really
Yeah.
well with this.
Yeah, at speed too, right? Like having AI help recognize imperfections in anything, or like imagine a meat processing facility, if you will, right? Finding foreign objects as meat travels from one side of a plant to another side of a plant.
Wouldn't
I
that be
bet you could
wonderful
train
if you
it.
never
bet
had
you
to
could
think
train-
about
Well, that's a huge safety concern that, can be solved. I don't care what company is doing that kind of stuff. No one really wants like metal filing to end up in someone's hamburger. Nobody wants that.
so
you know.
fewer recalls
Yeah.
in 2024 possibly.
I don't know. That's just necessarily a 2024 thing. I think that might already be happening.
Right.
Okay.
But I think it could potentially apply to other industries. I mean, we just saw the writers' strike, right? And I think
We
one
did.
of the provisions, if I remember this correctly, one of the provisions of that were certain restrictions on the use of AI script writing and on screenplays and everything else, right? Like studios have to, at the very least, disclose
Yes.
that part of whatever was generated using AI. So I mean, I would predict that becomes a thing for other entertainment sectors too, right? Like comic books. I mean, we love comic books. We talk about comic books all the time.
We do.
I would love to know. Me and Kyle did. I would love to see original art and not AI generated art.
Yeah, I want to know. I want a stamp to be on that cover that says it's AI generated so that I can avoid it.
It's going to be like seeing the organic label on food, right? This is going to be the same thing, but for content now. Like, hey, 100% organically, like this was written in meat space and not,
right.
Human generated content.
Yeah, that'll be like the album, and then AI will be the streaming. Like, well, the record's way better. But I think it's the consumer mostly is going to look at like the output. How much do I like this? And then if they like it, they're going to watch it. And there's no stopping that. AI generated music, if it sounds good and people like it, they're going to listen to it. And there's no stopping that either. So it's okay. Now we know there's no stopping it, but how do we at least, let people know that this is not Elvis? Elvis is dead. Stop saying he's working at Burger King and making this music. I think that stamp has to be on there. I think that stamp has to be on videos, and then some kind of a authority that can force that would have to be in place. It'll be like a PG rating, AI rating. How much AI was used? Are these characters AI or not?
I think the industry will try to do that themselves. We'll see how it works.
I still think that I'm going to be able to upload my image and star in a movie. So I watch myself as Bruce Willis in Die Hard. I don't know how I'm going to fit in those vents, but it'd be kind of cool.
The AI will figure that out for you. What were you going to say, Chad?
Kyle said the PG rate, the Motion Picture Association, giving a PG rating to a thing, and comic books, the comic book ratings, and the video games ratings, and all of that other stuff. I think is relatively policeable, right? Like you don't need the government involved to do that. I think they'll do a good job on their own.
I mean, nobody that I'm aware of is trying to fake having an MPAA rating on a movie without actually going through the process, right?
Yeah.
It's just not done.
I mean, you can just go the independent route and not bother getting it rated at all.
Right.
Not comply with any of that, and then market it that way. I don't know how that all works on the back end, but there's stuff that's unrated, the unrated version. And the unrated version of whatever movie you watched isn't really any better. There's nothing that's going to be worth paying that money for. I'm just saying.
I have one more prediction.
Yeah.
I think somehow, right? Now, I can't actually fathom this, so bear with me. It's going to sound like science fiction, but I believe in Microsoft's ability to make teams even worse. I think we're going to see that in 2024. Somehow, some way, Teams is going to get less good.
Like Slack just did.
Worse. Yeah, worse.
You need to move. Do you really need to put the profile button with your picture in the exact opposite place?
Well, that's how you know it's changed. Yeah. I'm going to say, Chad, that you are wrong on that. That they will incrementally improve it, but that you still won't find it satisfying. But that's more of a hope than a actual prediction. What's the point if everybody's going back into the office?
Well, you
to make
still
it better?
You still don't need to walk across the hall to ask a really simple question that you don't need answered right away. It's always like, if it's troubleshooting, I won't do it via chat. It's got to be in person or at least a call.
Can't you just share the screen and do things that way?
We need to talk. We can't text. It's got to be a conversation. I can't wait for the back and forth to happen.
Slack was a useful product for me, 8 years before COVID. I forget when that was released, but I just remember previous gig I joined, we started using Slack almost immediately, if I remember right.
Yeah.
And so like Slack as a thing is good. It has and Teams could be good, right? It really could be. Honestly, I'm genuinely confused. Like I look at Teams right now and I see all of the applications attached to it. All of the who needs this?
Right.
It's chaos. And they've opened the platform up. I don't know. I'm going to start sounding really dumb here pretty soon. But they've almost overextended the platform to do things that really all you need to do is message a group message a person, call a person on the phone, and share your screen, right? Like super,
And that's all
super
still
simple
going to be
functions.
there. That's all still going to be there. And no one is holding a gun to your head to make you install another whiteboarding app.
But if you're a part of an organization, those guys are going to continue to glom on to that, right? And honestly, even the base functionality got worse somehow with this last update, right? One of the guys I work with, he's stuck in writing Teams messages as if they're emails. You have to have a subject and then a body, right? Somehow
Wow.
like that mode is stuck on for him. And
Oh,
That's
maybe I need to look into that and help him.
there's another, like, once in a while, I will just try to message somebody. Full internet connectivity, everything else is working, and you can kind of see like the little icons next to the messages. An open circle with nothing in it means Teams got it, but the other person didn't.
Right.
And that happens all the time now. Like, somehow for me, just sending a basic 1-2 sentence text doesn't deliver. And I'm like, how on earth? How on earth did you, like, that's the easiest thing in the world. Like that's like job zero, right?
Right.
Send a text over. How did you mess that up?
I get that with
All
Slack Mobile. I don't get it with Teams.
So
Stay
never happens
tuned
to
for
me.
our future talk about better communication through the new app that's going to come out next year. But we don't know what it is.
this is
It's-
this part of my thing with Teams, right? Like, it's one product in this massive company's portfolio, right?
Right.
And yes, I'm sure there's brilliant people working on Teams and great product owners and a whole mess of talented individuals. But it's one product in a massive portfolio. Slack is just Slack, right? Like, they have
Right.
a product and they have one thing, one vision, one, like, hey, we're going to make this one thing consistently better.
There's no desire to implement Word inside of Slack
Right.
to tie those two properties together, right?
Yeah, let's not. Yeah, exactly. Classic Microsoft stuff, right?
Yeah, we get a lot of mileage out of our Microsoft 365. A lot of it works great. And there's a lot of tools out there, and they're not all going to knock it out of the park. Microsoft tends to hit and run. And they don't want to go back and revisit things and make them awesome. They want to do another next cool thing on top of it. And
Yes.
my hope would be that they go, okay, let's put the brakes on. Let's make this thing awesome. Let's take a step back. Let's revisit this, get all the feedback. Let's get Chad Juttner involved. I watched that podcast and he was not a huge fan of this.
There
Let's
you go.
get him in here and let's have him help us make this better.
That would be fun.
Yeah,
That would be fun.
I would love
All
to
right.
see that. And I think that we got our parting thoughts in there.
I
So
think so.
since we're over, I think we can just say goodbye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Solution Design Group is a digital product consultancy in Minneapolis. Check us out on the web at solutiondesign.com or look for us on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram at Solution Design Group.